Welcome to Life Activated. I'm Mari Roberts, corporate gal gone rad energy healer and psychic guide. The intention of this podcast is to be a supportive space that empowers you to live your passions now, encouraging you to be uniquely you and to trust your intuition. On this podcast, you're going to hear from guests who are just like you. The difference is they figured out how to bring their passions into their life. To find out more, please visit me at marirobertslife.com. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today back at the Life Activated podcast. I am so excited. We have a very special guest with us. Deb is here, Deb Caron, and I always just like to let our guest introduce themselves because I feel highly always about the guest. But I think it's great for the guests to introduce themselves and share their magic right away. So, Deb, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hello. Okay. Probably one of my least cultivated skill sets is talking about myself. I enjoy putting others in the spotlight. However, my name is Deb Caron, and I have many hats that I wear, but for the purpose of this podcast, I will say I am an energy healer, Reiki master, yoga teacher. I lead group workshops, sound healing. I do a lot in the healing space as my main passion and purpose. And I will say, as it lends itself to this podcast, I'm sure we're going to get into it, I also have a full-time job. So this is a working toward that being something I can call my main career, but it is certainly where my heart and soul lies. Those are all the things that I do.
I love it. I love it. And since I didn't tell you to do this, I should also say, for those who are interested, because we will have people who will be interested, if you can tell us your astrological sign, if you got your human design info, and then do you know your Enneagram?
I do. I don't use that one enough that I can remember exactly what it is. I know I have it actually listed on my website, but it's not one that I do often enough that I even know.
The ones that you like and remember. How about that?
The ones I like and remember. So I do. I'm a Libra moon. No, Libra sun. Libra sun, Sagittarius moon. Interesting that I led with that because I actually feel much more connected to my moon sign these days. I think as I get older, I identify a bit more with my moon sign than my sun sign, although I certainly have a lot of Libra. And then I am Scorpio rising.
Ooh, and it's Scorpio season.
It is, yes. Ooh. Yes. As I dive into astrology more and more, it's so fascinating to see how that has a lot of evidence of truth in my life. So yeah. My human design, I am a 6-2 generator, which I think you and I are the same.
Yes, we are.
But I am a non-emotional sacral authority. So I think we differ there, do we not?
We definitely differ there. So you're non-emotional.
So they say, as it relates to human design, I think I certainly can make quick decisions when I feel them very wholly in my body as a yes or a no. Mm-hmm. But I guess maybe I don't fully understand that tag of non-emotional because I am certainly an emotional human being.
Yeah.
But I can make decisions outside of my emotions. I guess that's more where that lies for human design, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think what that would mean is, so for me as an emotional generator, I have to ride the wave of emotion before I can make a decision. And I technically should be making that decision from a neutral place. And yes, I do get the ahas and ahs and like for a smaller decision using that. But for a bigger decision, I should, and, I tread lightly on should, but ideally, if I'm living the human design, giving myself the time to process, where I believe you can truly just go like, yep. That's it.
Yeah, maybe it's the Libra in me that then does have to weigh every freaking angle before I can actually land on something. So,
isn't that funny, right? So then you take all these different, what do we call them? What are they?
Modalities? I don't know.
I don't know what we call them.
Tools.
Right?
Let's call them tools.
We'll call them
Let's use some corporate speak.
Yeah. Corporate speak, tools. Use all these different tools. Yeah, definitely. Because they're a lot of corporate people who listen to this, like use a lot of different tools and ways to know ourselves, right? To then say, what feels right. And maybe it's actually just taking a little bit of each of these things to better
Yes.
understand ourselves.
I enjoy the corporate tool of the disc.
You like the disc?
I do.
Interesting.
Sometimes I do.
Really? I don't like disc. So I'm disc certified to actually be a disc facilitator for my corporate job. So for
Maybe
anyone
that's why you don't
listening,
like it.
yeah. So for anyone who's listening, who, again, if you're a corporate world, DISC is again, another assessment tool. It is not like just about your behavior. It's not meant to be like a Myers-Briggs type of assessment. It's not meant to be strength finder, but it is a way of, again, knowing and understanding the people that you work with. And when you get certified in it, I just personally found it, sorry, DISC, but I found it to be a very sort of, the best way I'm going to say this is kind of a lame training.
It's a little basic. Yeah.
It was a basic kind of lame training that I didn't think actually really prepares you to be a really great facilitator of the tool. And while I do think it helps you know people, I think there are other tools that are better. And so
for sure.
so for DISC, they keep it pretty simple. It is
Dominance,
dominance,
influence, steadiness, and compliance, right?
I think so. Yeah. And so like I'm steady. I'm like solid steady.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Mine
surprise.
is, I am like 100 on the in the format that I use, it's yellow. So the influence, that's like your people, like relationship, I'm like way high, and I'm way high on the S. So like I'm equal parts extrovert and introvert.
Interesting.
And all people related.
That's so funny.
And I have like no compliance, none.
Yeah. So if you are in the C, the compliance, you would be a person who needs a lot of details. You would ask a lot of questions. You want to understand more, and the helping me understand why you are asking me to do something. If you are a D person, don't give me, like, you would hate to work with me because I want to give you the context and help you understand. Just get direct to the point. Tell me what the hell you want. Like that is a D person. So, and people are typically a mix of a lot of things. Like I do have S, but I also, have I think I flow into a little bit of the C a little bit. I forget what it is. Anyway, I like strength finders personally because I like the concept of looking at people's strengths and leveraging
I've done that one and I can't even remember what that resulted. I don't remember my results. I didn't work with it enough to commit it to memory.
Yeah, I like strengths finders, and I actually like Enneagram.
Yeah.
We did Enneagram at my current job for a while. That was one of the tools. It's sort of the same thing, and I'm a 9, so I like that as well. I think what's nice.
I'm either a 9 or a 7. I feel like I get different results on that one a lot. So why would I get different results? Does it depend on your mood or like what phase of life you're in?
I would say you would want to do a proper assessment. If you do it online, you're going to get different things. If you actually go through a practitioner with an actual test, you'll get the proper results.
Because I've only ever done it online.
Yeah. You want to do a proper test. So anyway, we are going deep. Kind of funny. But it's actually really interesting, right? So there's a lot of different ways to know ourselves. And if you are not super woo, right, or into the mystical, there are still ways to know ourselves. And I think what's nice about, using like Deb and I as an example, we balance between the mystical and the practical world, and we can see how our gifts can be leveraged in both spaces. And so you just hearing us talk about this can show you how you can actually bring your gifts into a corporate setting, for example. So I think that's kind of like a great way to kind of just show right away how you can start to bring your passions into your world, just kind of off the bat.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that though, because I am in the process of, have been for a long time trying to transition out of a current job. But part of my big struggle with that is I don't feel like I can allow this side of me to come through. And every time I've tried, I get a little bit like, I'm like, ooh, that didn't go so well. Let's dial that
Mm,
back down.
interesting. Well, let's
Yeah.
talk about that because funny enough, I pulled a card. I wasn't planning on doing this, but every time I meditate before, I do the interview and I got the guide again to pull a oracle card. And so I pulled a card before a session and I used the Asia Deshore deck again. I know you love her deck.
Oh, is that the guided by spirit one? Is that the
Yeah,
one you
thank you.
sent me?
See?
Yeah.
Yeah, guided by spirit.
Yeah.
And so the card is shadow and light.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't make up this shit. Like,
Yeah.
how it
No.
is. Okay, so let me tune in and see like what's coming up. And maybe it's also related a little bit to that, right? Let's see.
Mhm.
And then I will say that this would be connected to probably us, right? But also whoever's listening to this, I'd say if you're
Mhm.
hearing this, how does this connect to you and relate to what you're going through right now? So I just heard it's like when it's like a fire, right? And when there are these sparks and they start to shine, right? The fear is to quickly try to put them out, quickly try to like dampen them out. That's like this shadowy part, that retracting part. And so, how can you allow it to burn? How can you allow it to burn even when it feels uncomfortable? When you allow it to show versus retracting, right? So, it felt uncomfortable, right? You retracted because maybe they didn't
Yeah.
respond a certain way. So you said, ooh, versus standing in your power and comfort with it until they either feel more comfortable or you open it up for them to ask more questions or for someone to come to you or on the side to say, wow, that was really interesting. I'm a little curious. What? Tell me
Mm.
more. Oh, that's interesting. I'm inspired by this. Because more people are interested actually in the fire. Fire is actually attractive. It's interesting. It's funny. It's warm. It's literally warm. It warms us.
This is super interesting. You didn't know this was going to be a therapy session, did you?
So funny. Right. But yeah. So, how do you allow yourself to slowly show more of yourself? And when someone reacts in a way that maybe you feel uncomfortable, because it's not the way you expected them to react. How can you
Hmm.
just say, okay, I'm going to still stand in my power with this and continue to move on?
Yeah. That is very, very interesting because if I think about that in the context of every other aspect of my life, no problem. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the kind of person also that will force any idea down anyone's throat. Like if they're ready to hear it, they're ready to hear it. If they're not, they're not. I'm not interested in making converts. But my reaction in this current situation, in my current job, which has been unsatisfying to me for quite some time, and there's no opportunity for advancement in there anywhere. And I think this is evidenced also in my personal life sometimes, is my reaction is a little bit of like a shutting down or peacing out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an avoidant for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. But I am making my steps to leave that particular position because it's just no longer in alignment for many, many reasons.
Yeah.
So I have some opportunities in front of me that could be awesome, but haven't fully panned out yet. And if those don't pan out, then, I have to just trust that the right one is coming. But the current situation it's just not for me anymore. It's interesting because I wonder if sometimes I'm looking for that proof too, where when I do speak about any of these things that I do outside of there and someone reacts with a teasing me or making fun of me or blowing it off, it's easy for me to see it in a way where I just might, okay, I'll just put that out and not bother.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe it is my expectation too. I've already decided they don't appreciate this, so they're not going to.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
And also, is it okay if people don't appreciate it? It may not be for them.
totally. Yeah, yeah. And I'm generally okay with that. I don't know why I'm extra sensitive to it in that situation. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Yeah. Our gifts
that,
aren't for everyone.
no, this is true. This is true. And I do think that's probably also why the universe is vibrating me right out of that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because it's not for me and I'm not for them.
And this is so great because this is really already like kind of bringing us into the questions I had for you
Yeah,
for today. I love this.
perfect.
I love this, which is one is what's held you back?
Certainly for a long time, my own confidence, right?
Mhm.
And, you and I have known each other for a while now. And I think I needed to see, so having people in my life show up in my life that are carving this path ahead of me has been instrumental in me believing that I also can do these things, right? So watching others like yourself do this stuff and trusting that I do have gifts and they are real and they can help people. And as I started to step into that, so I don't even know how long ago you and I initially connected, but I think a lot of what held me back was a little bit, for certain, fear of that being made fun of, for lack of a better way to say it,
Mhm.
or you know, being a different version of yourself is uncomfortable because there's people that aren't going to understand it or are going to think, you'll get those comments, you've changed, you'll lose friends, like all of that stuff. At this point, I'm pretty resilient. I've gotten used to that and I'm okay with some of the loss that has occurred because I know that that's naturally part of your own evolution. But that certainly held me back for a while. Being okay with that was one. And then just understanding that it's okay, like it's real, and it's okay if it doesn't fit the norm or it doesn't fit how you were raised. It doesn't fit with your culture or your religion or whatever these things that you got kind of programmed with on the way up, having to unravel those. So,
Yeah.
and I would say another piece that maybe still currently holds me back a little bit is trusting that the resources will be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is fair. That is very
Yeah.
fair. And it holds a lot of people back. And,
Mhm.
something that we hear a lot about in this world, especially, I think this is something that Amanda and I spoke about in the last episode was that Amanda Chase and I spoke about this in the last episode was, we hear so much on this coaching industry, especially like business coaching, like make your next 10K, make your next
Mhm.
150,000, blah, blah, blah. And, it doesn't have to happen in that way, and it may not happen in that way, and you may have to do things differently. It may be slower than
Mhm.
happening in like the next week. you know
Right. And
uh,
I had to realize too, I had a lot of, I would call them just inaccurate beliefs at this point around it's okay to charge for these types of services, right?
yeah.
And having to understand that I might have had this weird underlying belief that people that need what I'm offering don't have money to spend on it, right? Like all this garbage you have to get out of your brain and rewire, I guess, or just, check in with that stuff. And it's changing a belief does not happen overnight.
No,
That I've realized. So
no.
awareness is huge. Every time I recognize when I'm operating from some old belief that I'm working on letting go of, every time I can notice it, I'm better, I'm further, closer, whatever the word is, to releasing it.
Yeah,
But yeah, stepping
yeah.
into that it's been interesting, but also there's been plenty of proof that, I should be compensated fairly for offering services and that people that need these they're certainly willing to invest in themselves.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
And in this whole process, right, because you said a lot, right? It's one, having belief that the resources are going to be there, knowing that it could take a little bit of time, also
Mhm.
having confidence in yourself to know that you can charge a price that allows you to be fairly compensated to be able to live. And that
Mhm.
doesn't mean compensated to be a multimillionaire. It means to be compensated to live. And
Yeah.
there is a difference. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I mean, again, in evaluating the relationship with money and abundance, I certainly in the past would have said, like, I'm not interested. Like, I don't need a yacht. Like, and truly, I'm not trying to build some golden tower, but
Yeah.
I do want to live quite comfortably and having the recognition that the more that I can create for myself, the more I can give back. Right.
Hmm.
So trying to do it from a very heart centered, good place. I think that does actually help me be open to it's okay to charge a fair rate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not charging $1,000 a session. It's not ridiculous.
No, no, no. Yeah.
It's fair.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You're
Yeah.
not in the camp of you're going to make 10K in a week because you're,
Right.
you know, in that interesting space that is right now creating bad names and distrust in the world right now for the
Yeah.
good work that's happening.
Yes.
So, if you could tell me, as you sort of reflect on where you are right now, and the theme of this month is sort of in that reflection phase. And
Mhm.
having worked with me, I like to take you through that reflect, align, design process in that
Mhm.
reflection phase. What has allowed you to take steps?
It's such a combination of things. And I almost think it's almost I'm going to give the same answer, but believing in myself,
Hmm.
just believing. And I guess even more than that, as I'm in real time reflecting,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
but as I think this through, every little baby step I took toward embracing that I knew this as a truth for me opened another door, even if it was just a crack. And, I started to connect with different people. I'm now Reiki 3, Reiki Master, and
Hmm.
that I wasn't seeking out to become attuned in Reiki. An opportunity came to me, and I think I started becoming a lot more able to recognize, like, if someone is saying, I would love for you to come and join this class because I think this is something you are uniquely gifted to do. And to look at that and not be like, oh, me, oh no, I'm not going to accept that you just want to bring me into your class. I would make all these excuses. And instead I said, heck yeah, let's
Hmm.
do this. And
Hmm.
from like, as soon as I did that, I was like, yep, that is a path I need to be on. And then I was able to pursue that more actively on my own, right? Or
Hmm.
actively as myself, still with the same teacher as my guide there. But it's some of that stuff where the more that I could embrace that this is a calling, this is not something that I even really wanted to choose. I had so many different ways it was coming at me with these messages of like, you're meant to be a teacher, you're meant to like step into this space. And I definitely know I resisted it for a little bit. But the more that I said, okay, then show me how, all of a sudden somebody's like, come do this course with me, or come teach at this studio, or like things came to me. I didn't even have to try. And then
Hmm.
I was like, oh, I think that's kind of how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to start following those, I've still hit some that feel like, I'm knocking on a door that's not opening. And so recognizing when maybe it's time to go try a different one, there's a lot of tuning in.
Yeah. That's listening to the GPS, the breadcrumbs
Yeah.
of your intuition.
Yeah.
I want to take a step back where you said believing in yourself. Tell
Mhm.
me a little bit about before you were believing in yourself. What got you to take a step?
Frustration. Historically in my life, there's been a lot of times where I almost have to get a little drop kick to recognize when I'm going in the completely wrong direction. And we all have patterns that we repeat, right? Whether they're with our career, with our health, I mean, like whatever, I could list everything, it doesn't matter. But maturity and recognizing when you keep putting yourself in the same damn situation that doesn't seem to be making you happy, and finally looking at, oh, what's the common denominator? Guess it's me. Maybe I should try something new here.
Yeah.
So I think it was like just a moment of being like, I don't want to keep repeating these cycles of dissatisfaction. And I'm frustrated with myself because recognizing that I really have a huge platform of personal responsibility, and just owning that whatever experience I am having in my life is because I created it.
Hmm.
Right. And I have no tolerance for victimhood, especially from myself. So it really was hitting a point of, okay, if I want a different experience in life, I've got to start believing that I can create that.
Yeah. I have experienced lately this feeling of being over myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, being over myself in certain aspects of my business and
Hmm.
being done with that version of behavior.
With your
And
own bullshit, right?
yeah, it's even being on the journey and on the path, there are still things that come up in my life in terms of, growing this business and wanting to grow to the point where I can not have a corporate job anymore, that I'm over myself. I am so over myself and done with, fear behavior, right? So I want to call that out because it is always a journey, and
Yeah.
there's always something to, I don't say, I mean, I guess it is overcome, but there is always,
Move
there,
through, I guess,
yeah,
right?
move through. Yeah, there's always
Yeah,
something to move through.
totally. Yeah. And I think that's an important point, because I think I also had to accept that there's no point where it's finished, right?
Hmm.
Because this is another piece of, I guess everything also that I teach my work with people, but the idea of I will be happy when,
Hmm.
that's faulty.
Totally. Totally.
Recognizing that there's no win. There's no win in that sentence,
No,
right? Like you'll
no,
be happy now or you'll be happy never.
exactly. I mean, my motto is living your passions now. Like,
Yeah.
about today. If you are doing that, you are living your purpose. Searching
Mhm.
for purpose in the future is for what?
Right.
Whatever you are doing right now is your
Yeah.
purpose, right?
Yes.
I'm popping in to the middle of this episode to tell you about an exciting giveaway that I'm doing. I am giving away a 60-minute psychic reading. I call them psychic life consulting sessions because it's really just that. These sessions are exclusive to my one-on-one clients. They are highly sought after and loved by my clients. They have been known and proven to lead clients to finding their partners in life, as well as providing clear direction and guidance. I am also giving away 60-minute energy healing sessions. These are sessions that I absolutely love. They provide deep, profound healing on an energetic level, on a physical level. Whatever you are going through, these healings will release blocks and provide you with clarity. You will receive answers and insights that you have been looking for with this energy healing as well. So how do you enter? Super duper simple. Whatever app you are listening to this podcast on, all you have to do is go onto it and leave a rating and a review for this podcast. 5 stars are always great. And then I just need you to take a screenshot of your review, post it on your Instagram stories, and tag me at Mari Roberts Life. And everyone who tags me in their review will be entered to win. The drawing for the winner will be picked on November 11th, 2022. So what are you waiting for? Go leave your review, rate it, and send me a screenshot after you post it on Instagram, and you will be entered to win one of these awesome prizes. Right?
Yes. I always love to kind of give the permission if somebody is in this space right now thinking, but I'll be happy when I get there. That's just the starting point, like recognizing that that's something you're striving toward is fine. Yeah. And it's not easy. Trust me. I can say that till I'm blue in the face. And I'm right now in a huge, like, kind of uncomfortable point of uncertainty and not quite sure what's next. And I've had some moments of panic of like, I just want an answer. I want to know, and I'll be happy when I know. And then having to be like, hello, like, what would you tell somebody else?
Because we're human.
Right.
That is the human experience. If we don't have that, then we would not be human.
Right.
It
Right.
is the journey. It's the
Right.
unfolding of life. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes it's fun and sometimes it sucks. And sometimes it's both at the exact same time. You're like, this sucks. You're all mad, you're pouting, and then you kind of get that external view of yourself and you're like, that's amusing. Look at you being a fool.
Exactly. Exactly. I'd love to know, how do you bring your passions into your life right now, like throughout life in general?
Oh, you know, so one of my main passions obviously is yoga, and that's a practice that I love, and I love it for myself. I love sharing it with other people. But I think that is one of the things that I can't bring it into every single aspect of my life, I guess. Back to the job space is where I kind of keep it a bit under wraps and don't bother to try to introduce any of my philosophies there. But for the most part, yoga is probably where a lot of this started for me. I think it's a good entry point for a lot of people into a spiritual space. And one of the reasons that I truly do love it is that oftentimes people come to that practice seeking physical fitness and then they don't realize that they're getting so much deeper, right? So there's so many philosophies there that I have a 14-year-old daughter. Parenting is like the hardest freaking job that you've ever had, and you can't freaking quit. And trying to show her how to live in this way shows me so many opportunities for growth in myself. Trying to always bring myself back to that in every point of life, right? Like in every interaction that I have with another human being, and every interaction that I have in my own crazy mind, just trying to remember my foundation. Like, and really, like, what is the freaking point here?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Why am I here living and breathing, right? So that's such a big esoteric question, but that's one of my things that I try to bring back into everything that I'm doing is why?
Yeah.
What am I creating here? Right?
Yeah. And, you brought up your daughter, and I wanted to ask this question, and we kind of spoke about it a little bit earlier, is how do you feel about being a role model?
That's a loaded question too, because
Mm-hmm.
I know that my kid respects me and looks up to me. She's 14. So there are moments where it doesn't feel that way. And there are moments where I'm not proud, not proud of how I am. Nobody can push your buttons like your child. Nobody can reveal your weak spots like your own family. So that's such a good question, because I can give a personal example. I'm totally open and I can be vulnerable. But this past week, she and I both got a little bit sick, and I literally never get sick. Like, I never get sick. And when I do, it lasts like a day. And so I had an interesting week with her where I do truly believe the reason I don't get sick is because I don't believe I get sick. I trust my immune system, and whatever comes in, if it affects me, I deal with it, and it usually makes its exit pretty quickly. She was whiny and very difficult to deal with. I'm so not the mom that's like gonna be like, oh, sweetie, let me get you pillows and bring you soup. And I get like, I'm such a asshole, for lack of a better word. I'm like, suck it up, buttercup, move on. Stop believing you're sick. Like, I just go through, and it really, for her, she was feeling very unheard, right? Like, she was upset because she was trying to tell me I don't feel good. And every time she whined, I was like, what the fuck is that doing for you? It's not making you any better to whine about it. And so I wasn't offering her the compassion she was craving. How that made me a role model, I'll get to, because I eventually, after, tears and frustration, and on top of that, I chronically take on more than I should. And so when I do have a little bit of illness, now I'm like, well, I have no choice, because I have to teach some yoga classes. I have to go do a sound healing. I've still got a full-time job. I've got to get this list of things done, and no one else is going to do them if I'm not doing them. And now I've got a kid that's asking for extra things, and she normally would have been at her dad's, but was at my house. Like, there was a whole long list of things. She eventually, which I'm very proud of her, and maybe I can say perhaps I have been a role model in this capacity, because she had a big old meltdown and was able to tell me, I feel like you're not hearing me. I feel like you don't believe me when I say I don't feel good. Like, she used these words. She used very eloquent words to say, I am feeling. And I had to take a step back and be like, holy crap. Like, I'm sorry that I'm making you feel this way. And I'm so proud of you for being able to say that to me, because I wouldn't have said that to my parents.
Yeah.
not at that age.
No.
So that's a two-sided answer, because I felt like at one point I'm not being a good role model because I'm just trying to tell her to, she literally said, you just think you can make yourself believe you're not sick. You're like gaslighting yourself. I'm like, well, but it's working. I mean, look at me. I'm still going about life like I'm not sick, because I'm not. But anyway, I want to say that she will recognize some of that, hopefully down the road,
Yeah.
that I am giving her some tools to be a healthy communicator, even when, because I do recognize when we have those moments that aren't fantastic in the moment, I will always sit down with her and apologize and say, I've never done this parenting thing before. I'm learning as I go. My parents would have never had those conversations with me either,
Yeah.
and I try to be a role model for her with the fact that movement's an important part of my lifestyle, that I eat well, and I don't pressure her with it. I just let her see, witness, and hopefully she'll choose the things, even though they're not the choices she's making right now.
Yeah.
So I try not to force it on her, but just show her.
And that you are doing, one, the best you can, and that you are being honest and truthful.
Mm-hmm.
And you are showing humility when you aren't perfect. Right.
And I do honor my commitments. Like, she didn't go to school, she'll cancel everything. I'm like, I will say, we're recording this on a Saturday because I had to cancel on you because I really was sick that
You
day.
were sick. Yeah.
That was the one day. but really, I think that that's another thing too, is I do show her, like, I'm going to honor the things that I said I was going to do, obviously without putting other people in jeopardy. I'm not going to show up. I know in this day and age, we have to be respectful of that level of not showing up to things sick. But yeah, I hope that I'm a good role model to her. That's all I can hope for.
Yeah. Doing the best that you can and being the authentic version of yourself is being a role model. And I would also offer to you that showing her that you are also working and that you are having the courage to also follow your passions and pursue your passions, even when it feels scary, is showing her that you are doing things that, not all people are doing, that not all people have the courage to do. That's also being a role model. So there's different ways of role modeling, right?
I think in human design, isn't the 6 the role model, or the 2?
Yeah.
One of those, the 6 too.
Yeah, the 6
it's
is
role model hermit, isn't it? Something like that.
The 2 is the hermit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just had a hermit moment.
Yeah. Exactly.
So also with that, sort of thinking about this, I do know that this is something that we as women, and I know moms definitely have this feeling of guilt, right? And especially guilt for wanting to follow our passions and do the things we desire to do, and feeling guilty about putting ourselves first. And, for me personally, even feeling guilty wanting to get my coaching certification back in the day, or wanting to do some of the things that I want to do, or, recording on Saturday for my business, and feeling guilty that I'm making, John go take the dog for a walk, for example. How do you manage feelings of guilt and putting yourself first?
Ooh, boy. Let me just add that I was also raised in the Catholic Church, which is the foundation of guilt.
Same here.
Yeah. So that's a deeply ingrained one. And I will say how I manage it again. I mean, I'm going to go back to awareness, but I think, as you get into energy work and all of this stuff, I mean, guilt and shame are lowest. They're the lowest vibration frequencies we can reside in. And so knowing that, when I recognize that I'm feeling that, it's not easy to just be like, whoop, not going to feel that anymore, because it doesn't really work that way. But noticing how I can bring it into literally everything. Like, I can feel guilty for having a full-time job and sometimes wanting to take 5 minutes to do a freaking Instagram post on my personal account. I can feel guilty for that. And another side note on the lack of alignment in the current job, I literally got reprimanded for that at one point. Like, I'm like, did I just invite this in? Because somebody creeped on my Instagram stuff and questioned all this stuff that I was doing. Oh my God. Like, you don't even know if I could have put that on there last night and just hit, it could have been a draft.
I mean, honestly, like that is irrelevant because they're schedulers, actually.
Yes, exactly.
So.
Exactly. Yeah. My ability to allow someone to create the guilt feeling in me when it's not even something I really have to feel bad about.
Exactly.
How do I manage it? I mean, I don't know if I do. Try to practice the recognition. And then literally how I sometimes do release it is another energy healing modality that I'm trained in is the emotion code. So that'll help you with like finding trapped emotions. Tapping is one that I really am a fan of. Moving my body. Like if I really can recognize I am carrying guilt. And for me, I often feel it in my belly. I don't know if other people feel it in different areas, but I'll feel it, that knot in my belly.
Yes.
Right. Like almost nausea if it's heavy.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, so what is this? And what am I really feeling bad about? So I can give it some labels, write it out if I need to. But if it's still there, it's like, I gotta move. I gotta and you can do that. I would say, obviously I have an attachment to yoga. That's one of my practices. But if I'm not even feeling like I want to do anything formal like that, like it might just be put on a song and jump around or like if you are in a space where you can like vocalize it, right? Like anything to move it through your body. And I have bowls here in my office too. I can use my sound bowls or the little gong, or I have a variety of ways I would move it, but moving energy is one that's powerful for me, like literally moving it or practicing self Reiki. I often don't feel it like that helps in that case for me to do it on myself.
Yeah.
I don't know if you do. But,
no.
Yeah.
No, I don't feel it the same way to do Reiki on myself and I don't actually use Reiki as much. I use like the quantum energy and the ancestral energy more, as you know. I usually fall asleep when I do energy healing on myself. I always am just like so relaxed that I just fall asleep. So
I think now I kind of just let myself in bed at night, like kind of just fall asleep.
Exactly.
Like trying to give myself that energy, and then I just give myself permission to drift off to it because I can't stay awake either.
Yeah, it never seems to never seem to get through the whole process. I have the intention of getting through the whole process, but I always drift off. Even if I'm like doing it in an awake time, I always drift off. And I think that's okay too. I think it's just part of the process. But I think that's why it's good to have other support and other, healers to help healers.
Yeah, which I would say myself and most of the people I know were like, how they say doctors are the worst patients. We're kind of not always good about seeking it out for ourselves.
But in terms of what you were saying with, putting ourselves first, right? It's a practice. I found for myself, it's a practice.
Yeah, it's mostly out of a mom thing because I do schedule a lot of things on my weekend because it's when I have time to work on this stuff that it doesn't even feel like work to me anyway.
Yeah.
But it often means I miss my daughter's volleyball game or something. And sometimes I'm like, there's how many games in a season? Like, she gonna notice we're not at one of them? I don't know.
Yeah.
So.
But that's also communication, right? So it's like, how do we communicate what's going to happen when, and then allow ourselves to, again, balance, right? What's the balance of that so that we can do the things that are in support of ourselves and also in support of others. And you and I have had these conversations. You've done groups with me. So, right? Like we have to give to ourselves first in order to have the capacity and space to give to others. And in order to fill our cups, there sometimes requires that little bit of selfishness, self-love to have that space and capacity.
You can't pour from the empty pitcher, right? And I would say the other piece of it that, again, I'm not always fantastic at is making sure that I'm very present when I am with another human. I mean, I was going to say I'm fortunate in this case, which I'm going to keep it as I'm fortunate in that I don't have a significant other. There's nobody else counting on me for crap except for my daughter. So I don't have a lot I have to disperse around. So, I mean, it's funny because I can say that jokingly now because I know at points we've had conversations around that piece of my life. And I've just hit the point where I'm like, it's easier not to anyway. So,
And it will come when it's meant to come.
exactly.
It's not something that is going to be away forever, right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And I honestly, that like, it's so far from anything I'm working on right now that it's not even like, it'll happen when it's supposed to happen.
Yeah, right. You're birthing a business right now, right? You're birthing
Exactly.
your business is here. You're birthing the
Yeah.
next level of your business, I should
Yes.
say. Your business
Yes.
is here. It's just the next phase of that,
Yes.
so that
Yes.
then you can create space for the partnership. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I love that. I was going to ask this other question and I almost forgot to ask you. When do you know that you're out of alignment?
That's a good one. I know, and this kind of goes back to human design. And as I've really tapped into that and recognizing that does help me, that just knowing my human design does help me stay in alignment. And that feeling of frustration is one of my greatest indicators. When I feel frustrated by everything in life, I know I got to check in. That's a big one. And I need to take it a step further because it's gonna, I think career and job is just so top of mind for me right now, but recognizing that my current job had become out of alignment for me. I mean, this has been quite some time that I've known that. So it's one thing to know it and feel that you are a little bit powerless to change it
Mm-hmm.
in like to create an immediate change. That's an interesting one because I tried to practice seeing it and saying, okay, feels misaligned. What can I do without changing the situation to help it feel more aligned? So that's an internal perception behavior change, like kind of shifting your ideas around things, which only worked temporarily.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came back to that level of frustration because I had to get honest that this is actually very out of alignment.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm currently taking steps to change it without a clear path forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is scary.
Yeah. And that path will get clear, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the first piece is awareness of you've got to make the change. And
Yes.
now it's getting more clear on what's the next step to I was gonna say to freedom from the corporate job.
Yeah. Well,
Truly,
and
right?
what's ironic is it might actually be stepping into another corporate job, but one that feels more aligned.
And that's
Which
great.
was not what I would have expected, but there's an opportunity in front of me that's unfolding as we speak. This is why I think I can trust that if it works out, it's the right decision because I didn't think that was how it was going to go. And oftentimes when it's something unexpected is when I need to follow it.
And I love that you're sharing this because I want people to also understand that it isn't just, I have to like quit my corporate job and then jump into my business full time. You can quit your corporate job and find another corporate job that is more supportive of you and what you are doing, that allows you to even flourish more in living your passions fully and being yourself even more in your corporate setting. So I think that is like such a beautiful share. And thank you for saying that.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting that I just kind of had this little epiphany as we were speaking is, so I'm in the interview process. I have one more interview left if all goes well. I'm waiting for that to be scheduled. So I've been through 3 interviews in this process so far. And in every single one of them, I have shared that I really love, like all of these things that I do on the side, like they just kind of came up inherently. And I didn't think anything about that until right now, in that I'm being very authentic and true to myself in the interview process. And therefore, once I am in this position, I will feel okay to talk about these things at work
Mm-hmm.
because they were part of who I was when I came in.
Yeah. Being fully
Yeah.
who you are, being authentically
Yeah.
who you are is very important in the process. Yeah.
And I
Because
actually think these skills that I've cultivated over the last few years on the surface would seem completely unrelated to the job that I'm working toward. I think that they will help me immensely.
trust me, they always do. They
Yeah.
always do. And that's what I will say to anyone, whatever your passion is, even if you're in corporate, you may think it doesn't align or it doesn't make sense. I promise you it does. I literally have had clients that I've mentioned this before, like they bake and they love to bake. And when they are baking, they come up with great new ideas that support them in what they are, bringing to the table at work because they have, a new, again, creative idea or they have a new solution. So whatever it is, it does actually support you. So just know that it is possible. So I think this is exciting. I can't wait to get the update. I know it's going to go really well. I love this. Oh my goodness, we've been talking forever. I can't believe it. So what I love to do before we go is if you could share with everyone, how can they find you?
Currently, my personal Instagram is on private because we had some issues.
It happens. It happens. That's okay.
So I'm going to open that back up pretty soon.
Yeah, open that
so
back up.
on Instagram, I'm Deb_Caron, but you can find my business account. It's Demysticism. So DEMYSTICISM. I haven't been posting a ton on there lately again because
That's
I'm
okay.
trying to navigate this transition as delicately as possible. But
That's okay. And we can put a link
you
out
can
there.
find me there. So some service offerings that are available on my website being, I imagine I'm in Phoenix, so I will see people one-on-one if anybody happens to be local to this area. I love to do in-person Reiki sessions and also in-person workshops and group sound healing in Tempe. But I have other services that are offered. I can do online sessions. Those you just have to email me to set those up because the appointments aren't there for open booking. And I can do the heart wall clearings and all sorts of stuff. But if you find me there, you can find a little bit of info about what I do. And all of my local events that are coming up are listed on my website as well.
All right, perfect. So we'll be sure to have a link to your website and a link to your Instagram so that people can find out what's going on and how to get a hold of you and how to book your services. All right, that does it for this episode of the Life Activated podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Please do subscribe to the show. Rank and review the podcast. 5-star reviews go a long way. Let me know that you've done so. Send me a message on LinkedIn or Instagram with a screenshot, and I will personally reach out to you to thank you. Send me a message letting me know what you think about the show, and definitely check out the show notes for additional resources to support you with this season.